Okay, it's October 28th. Finishing my uh, door knock list for the day. I hit probably five or six houses, good leads that I thought. They were all over the city. There wasn't a lot of traffic, but again, just being consistent every day works, even on a Saturday. Even if you put in 2 hours and hit two doors, do that shit. So, last door that I hit, there was a Spanish speaking lady. Well, she spoke a little bit of English. I mean, like half and half kind of, but she still needed help from her daughter. She's, cleaning up the house, and, she looks a little bit stressed out. It's definitely a pre foreclosure. She's actually scheduled to be foreclosed on the 31st of this month. So today's the 28th. My assistant said that they pushed the date back. I haven't really checked it. I'm getting on the computer right now just to check it. But, you know, uh, she doesn't have a lot of time. What's really popular right now as far as like refinancing goes is called a loan modification. All across the country, I think they're doing them. But she told me that she failed the loan modification, so she wasn't able to do that. She's really very stern, and doesn't want to sell it to a realtor even, or definitely not an investor, because the investor wants to get it cheap. So she's definitely a little bit frustrated with probably the offers that she's getting, which isn't a lot of money. She owes about 120. The house is worth probably 300. But again, I try to explain to her, like, I need to see the inside of the house. I can't really make you an offer until I evaluate and see what, it looks like. But again, she's just sick of, uh, lowball offers. But again, I mean, it still says on here that she's, uh, gonna foreclose on basically like Tuesday. So I'll just call my assistant back. She probably got information somewhere else. But again, like, she's really stubborn. So what I'm gonna do in this scenario is I'm going to send out my student. He's bilingual. He's actually a white guy, but he really can speak because his wife is Spanish and he's learned Spanish. He knows how to speak it pretty good. So we will give this another shot. And again, like, if you can speak Spanish, that's just a little bit of kind of rapport building. And just kind of explain to her, look, if you're telling us that you're not going to lose the house, but you only have a couple days left. And if she basically, what she said was, she's not going to lose the house. And when she does get a loan to actually pay off the payments, then she's going to sell it. Okay, so she's going to sell it regardless. And again, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So if she didn't qualify for a loan modification, she's getting the money from elsewhere if she's actually doing that, if that's actually the truth. Okay, but she has to do that within the next like a couple of days. In theory, there's always a chance that the auction dates could push back, but she's running a real risk right now. Kind of being stubborn and not really. Again, if she has money coming in from somewhere, then God bless her. I hope it works out. But the bottom fucking line is if she doesn't do something, the bank will take her house. But people really do get stubborn in this industry. Especially with the home, you just got to think they're emotionally attached to it. They built a lot of equity in that home. This lady has owned this home for a while, and she's built a lot of equity into it. It's gone up a lot, but again, your house is only worth what people will pay for it. And again, if you're going to do it relatively quick, you need somebody that isn't going to qualify for financing, somebody that actually has cash, and you have to kind of convince her of that. So in this case, it's just kind of a last resort scenario. She's stubborn. What I want to do in this is I'll have my partner comp it, and then I'll send my student actually out there by himself and just say, I can give you upwards towards this amount, but I still need to look inside of the house. So we would probably put in like a maximum offer. just to see what we could do. Again, your cash buyer needs to make money, so you're the middleman. So again, it has to make sense to them because they're the ones with the cash, and then you're not working for free. So you got to do what works for you. Even a $5,000 check, $3,000 check, it's still a check that you didn't have any stake in, and you didn't work that hard for. Just remember, in this industry, like every deal that you do, it's not like there might be months that you don't get the deal, but how many, or it takes months for the deal to close, but how many actual hours are you putting in on that? You know what I mean? It's never more than like 6 to 8 hours on one deal in any deal that you fucking do in wholesaling, like with actual time on one address, like one single property. You're not putting a lot of hours into that. You might be following up, but again, when you follow up once or twice or three times, it's like you're just driving there, or your phone doing a phone call there, and you're following up. So if you get a phone number, if you drive there once, that may take you 20 minutes. And then if you get a phone number, you call up, that takes you 30 seconds to a minute to actually talk to them, or maybe talk to them for a couple minutes. And then you're following up again next week with the same lead, and you're talking to them for a couple minutes. So again, the time on one property doesn't really add up. So again, even if you make, just $3,000 or $1,000 or $2,000, it's still money that you didn't spend a lot of time on. So again, you do have to work hours in this business to build up your brain conditioning to know what to say and do. But you are not putting a lot of time into every single deal that you do. And it's very important to have a pipeline when you are actually working, because you want to keep the deals coming. Because if any deal falls through, you have another deal that's backing it up. You know what I mean? Because deals, until you actually get paid, like it's not a deal. It's never a deal until you actually get paid, like that check in your account. That's it. So you have to think like that 100% of the time. I've made the mistakes too, where I'm like, I'm gonna get paid on this, and it's gonna happen this month. And again, I had a deal that took 5.5 months, 5.5 fucking months for a deal, from start to finish. So it was just ridiculous. And we had it sold a couple different times, but again, the buyer backed out because they don't want to wait. They don't want to wait around. They don't want their money in an earnest account for 5.5 months. Like nobody's gonna really do that. Like when you get a deal, if it's a really good deal, usually you'll sell in about 30 minutes. And if it doesn't, you can market it for a little bit, and somebody will eventually buy it in this market now. But you've got to find the good deals. So basically, go back to this lady with an offer, and just give it one last shot. I wouldn't. It's not that far out of the way from where me and my student both live. We both live in the same general area. It's really close to him. So if he goes over there and says, "Hey, I'll give you this amount for it," but I still got to see the inside of the property, you know what I mean? And then I'll basically like have a contract ready for him, and he can just write it in, what he would give her or whatever. So, it's never, you're never down for the count. Again, I think I said in a podcast today, that I've closed or stopped a foreclosure on the same day of the auction, like in the morning. So, it can definitely be done. I've only had one time where if I didn't have a signed contract, or if I had a signed contract and the bank like still got the contract and I sent it to the right person, and it finally got through to them, that they still foreclosed on the property. So, and again, it was just an older couple. They were in their like 70s, and it's really sad because they didn't answer the door. They weren't receptive. We had spoken with them a couple times, but they literally waited until the last like 3 days before the foreclosure, and I could have actually saved them earlier, but they just were, again, that was $50,000 in equity that they lost in their home. They were being stubborn. They were waiting until the end. They were kind of like hibernating in their home. They were really like neat hoarders. They were hoarders. And a 70-year-old couple has to basically, they got a letter in the mail. She had texted me, the day after the auction, and text me that she got a certified letter in the mail that her house is no longer hers and it was sold at an auction. And I just kind of like said, I'm sorry, I did everything I could, but again, pigs get fed and hogs get slaughtered. So if you don't, take what you can get when you're in a position like that, you get nothing, and then you get a foreclosure. They have to move into an apartment complex. or something like that, and they have to downgrade their home, and then they're in their like 70s. It's really sad. So again, financial literacy is very important, and you see it every day. Every time I enter a house, I mean, I can kind of see it because most people are just struggling. They're struggling at the door, and if you're there to save their ass, again, they're thankful for that. A lot of the times, most of the time that I do deals, I'm making it work for them in one way or the other. They might not get everything that they want, but they get what they need to move on to the next chapter. And if you save your credit, you can, buy a house again. I'm against actually purchasing a house, with a single income or two incomes. Like if I would have purchased anything and take out like a monthly payment on it, I would want and be like buying it. Like I rent a house, it's not a big deal because again, if I lose it and it gets like there was an eviction on my record or whatever, like that's not a big fucking deal to me at all. I have a 2,200 square foot house right now that I'm renting. And again, he has to make sure that I pay my mortgage or my rent every month to make his mortgage payment, and he works for like FedEx, the landlord, the owner of the property, and his wife does like house cleaning or something. But like, they have two kids, and he's using this money when he sells this house when I leave in March, to pay for his daughter's education. Well, what about his other daughter? Like, you know what I mean? And I was asking him about that, and he's like, well, I'm just gonna, we'll get student loans for her, and we'll help her pay the student loan. We're basically gonna pay the student loan. So he was asking me, he actually wants to purchase a home. He's gonna sell this home and his other home that he actually lives in, and then buy a home, like, and then get cash out of it. And I told him to fucking rent, like, the next time, like, when he does that, like, just buy a cash flow property. I told him to buy, like, maybe a sixplex or an eightplex or something like that. But, again, like, even if he did that, he's not financially literate. Again, he knows how to manage people, but he doesn't want to have to deal with, if you buy, like, an eightplex, you might be, for what he can afford, you might not be getting the most, people see with their eyes. So again, like if he goes into like an eightplex that's like, it's low income type people, he would not buy it just because like he'd rather buy like a house or a condo with somebody or some family that would move in, that's a clean family that would take care and pay the rent every month. But again, you can find, even in low income areas, you can find people that are reliable, and they just live that way, and again, you're good to them. As long as you fix everything and keep them happy, they will keep you happy. If you take care of your property, they'll take care of your property. So, again, and I've learned that because I've owned a couple of apartment complexes in my lifetime. So, but again, it really comes down to that, like that financial literacy. Like he's selling his home just to put his daughter through college, and he could sell that home and buy like an eightplex or something, and then he could just take out student loans for his daughter's education and just have that cash flow paying for that student loan. And again, like it's an asset, and then when she gets out of college, like the student loan is paid off or whatever, and then the asset would go up in value, and he could sell it for more and then buy a bigger apartment complex and so on and so forth. So that's being financially literate, but again, like if you don't educate yourself enough, you're not really going to understand it anyway. He knows how to rent a single family home. Like that's as far as his financial literacy goes. He is a great guy, and we've never had any problems. I've always paid my rent on time. So, he definitely likes me. He likes the fact that my lease ends in like 3 days from now, but I'm going to stay until March until he's actually going to sell the house, and I'm a man of my word. I will do that. It's not a big deal to rent this house even just by myself. So, again, everything goes down to, what about financial literacy. And again, I can make money without money, and that's a good trade to learn. But my goal is to have actual cash flow properties that I don't have to worry about a monthly income. You know what I mean? Like I make money and it's great money, and then I have a pipeline of deals that keep coming in, so I make even better money. But that money has to go into an investment and I already have like basically one just like regular investment. But again, I want more real estate. I want real estate properties that cash flow me money, to where when I am too old to actually work, or even, I mean, Warren Buffett, like, he's, I don't know, in his 80s or 90s, he's still working. So again, like, if it's not really like hard work, like physical labor, you can probably work till you die. If it's physical labor, you really can't. So hopefully you've done good with your money throughout your lifetime. But chances are, in America or even around the world, people are just not financially literate, and they don't think of the future. They don't think of when they're older, and you're not as able as you used to be. So there's a new movement right now, and it's entrepreneurship. You can see it all over Facebook. There's thousands of kids making 70 grand a month off of Instagram and Snapchat and all these social media sites, and they're doing 4X. Like, they're not even going to college. They're just basically either interning with somebody and learning, having them teach them how, or they're paying for some sort of education that can show them how to do these certain things. And again, it's not like academic intelligence, it's financial intelligence. So I'm financially literate. That's why I can do deals without money. And that's why I know when I get big checks, like, I know that I can buy properties, and apartment complexes and things like that, because I've already done it. So, my goal is to actually have cash flow properties, a lot of them, like a lot of apartment complexes. I want to get into big apartment complexes, 200, 300, 400, 500 unit complexes. I mean, that's where, the real big money is. I've always had a dream to be doing big deals like that. Even hotels have kind of taken a dive. That they're expensive. Airbnb is a lot cheaper, and they don't own a single fucking property, really. You know what I mean? They're just basically, it's a system that lets other people make money, and they get a small portion of that. The same with Uber and Lyft. It's the same thing. They take a small portion off of each cab, but it's worldwide, or countrywide. Like, they have Uber in the Dominican Republic. So, as far as you can reach, and again, systems work, and that's why I always want to work with people. I haven't always been the best boss, the best leader. I totally admit to that. I just need to work on more self-improvement. So again, at least thank God I know how to wholesale single family homes, because I know I can do that forever in any recession in my lifetime. Like, that's always going to be around. That could change in 100 years, but in my lifetime, wholesaling is always going to be there. It's always going to be good money, because there's going to be people that are constantly doing it, because people are selling houses right now. So in 10 years from now, somebody that just bought a house today, that closed on a house today, they might have some sort of issue where they gotta sell their home, where they need to sell their home, and they run in a position where they can't sell it for what they want, and then they just have to take what they can get, or they're too stubborn to let it go, and they just, the bank takes it, and it's just, it's not fair, but that's just how our system is set up. And if you're not financially literate, you do those type of things where you take out so much debt and you become a slave to that debt. So, difference between good debt and bad debt. Good debt is what other people pay for, other systems pay for, and bad debt is something that you might not necessarily have bad credit or late on your bills, but if you just work one job, and you and your wife just work one job, and you're paying for your house and 2 cars, and you got student loans on your kids, and you're paying for that, like, you're a slave to the system forever. I mean, until you die. You know what I mean? So hopefully you have a good pension, and hopefully that pension will pay you for the rest of your life, and then your Social Security will. But none of that stuff is really guaranteed in this day and age. Like, anything could happen, and you can't really trust your government. You have to have your own assets. Again, I wouldn't look to another man to try to, like, take care of me in my old age, or anybody. I'll teach my kids about how to be financially literate. By the time that I die, the way that I'm going right now, I definitely won't have to worry about money. I know it deep in my soul and my bones and everything, that as much work as I put in thus far, is still, going to put me in a great position by the time I, don't have to, I start to get sick and die, or whatever, whatever it is. But, again, I love real estate. I love teaching real estate. I love showing people how to do stuff. I like when people get excited, and again, It takes hard work, and it's not really hard work, like physical hard work. It's just mental hard work, door knocking, and buying homes without money. I mean, it's just a constant. But if you work the shifts, it'll work for you. So if you've done a bunch of educational programs that's not working, it's just because you're not being proactive. So just remember that. This is Nate Ness. It's October 28th, and again, you got to be proactive when you first start out. I don't care who you are and what you're doing. As far as entrepreneurship goes, or if you're trying to make the big dollars, you have to proactively go out and get it, even if you look stupid, even if you sound funny, even if you're embarrassed, even if you feel shame. Like, you just have to get over that and just keep moving forward. So I've done things at being just somebody's boss and being a leader where I'm very shameful and embarrassed of, because I have a big ego, and I've been checked on that this year. You know what I mean? It's definitely opened up my eyes, and I just have to be a better person. So I just continually work on that, and again, personal growth is what I'm going to be focusing more on in 2018. I've got wholesaling in the bag. Like, I know how to do it. And again, when I work a shift today and I get through to at least some people, like, again, I just follow up on the stuff that, when people tell me no, or please leave my property or whatever, I know to go back, or somehow somebody get somebody else to, like, knock on the door. Again, that's what a team is for, to help you do things that you can't do if you've already done them, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So again, I had 2 basic no's, but I made contact today. Even if I hit only 6 doors, if I hit 2 doors, that's good. That's a good response rate. If you're just talking to 2 people and figuring out what's going on, and what their emotional state is. So if you know their emotional state, like, you can continue to follow up, and you know how to react when you understand their emotional state. So, again, I said today in one of my podcasts that I went to a guy's house, and his wife answered the door, and I smelled pot right when I walked up, because the door was open but the screen door was shut. The wife said, "Yeah, we're not interested in selling right now, but if you leave your name and your phone number, we possibly could in the future." And I said, well, I know that, I'm under the impression that this house is going into foreclosure, and it's happening here in the next, it's happening on the 2nd of December, and it's October right now. So they only have a month. So again, and then the husband interjected and just said, "Sir, could you please leave my property? We're not losing our home." So, very emotional. And then as I left, they were arguing. So, it's an emotional situation for them. I completely get it. And again, if people are not going to listen, you just have to follow up until it's time for them to listen, and some people are just never, ever going to, listen. And, again, like I said in past podcast, people, they just do shit. And they, again, you see $100,000 in equity just, go away. So, I mean, it's not a funny thing. It's really not. But, if people are going to be stubborn and they're not going to listen, and you can't help them, then you move on to the next deal. So, again, it is a numbers game. You need to work on it, and just keep working on it. When you do save somebody's ass, they're very thankful for it. So, just don't take anything personally and keep moving on. So, Nate Ness Education, October 28th, 2017. I will be doing, daily podcasts when I work, which is pretty much every day. I'm going to get better at this, and being able to teach people how to make money without money. But again, the follow-ups that I did today, it's not like I'm going to stop following up just because somebody told me no. I'm not going to take anything personal. If they get upset, until it's a restraining order, the way that I see it, until it's a fucking restraining order, like, I'm going to keep knocking on your door. I'm trying to help you. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to be stubborn about it, like, until it goes into foreclosure, like, I'm going to still try to help you, And again, I can make a win-win-win situation out of thin air. So, and that's why I like my job these days, because when I was a salesman, it was like, how much money can I make? Not how, what kind of value could I create for the customer? So I learned a lot in this industry about value, and value is very important. So the more valuable you are, the more money you're actually going to make. So, again, trying to create value. And I think every salesman should do that too, if you are a salesman. But you get the kind of used carsman sales guy that just doesn't give a fuck about nothing but money that goes in his pocket. And I never wanted to be like that, because that's just bully, dirty shit. And people they don't want to, do business with people like that. And it's bad for business. It's bad business karma. You want to create value. Honesty is definitely the best policy. You don't want to rape everybody. If it's only in it for you, I don't think it's a good deal. You know what I mean? If you can't get them to the next level or the next chapter, I don't think you should do the deal. So I want to feel good when I do deals. And again, every deal that I've done thus far, I've felt really good about. I've got their problem solved, and even in a fair deal, I've made a lot of money. So, you can definitely do this. When I first started out, I wasn't shit. I couldn't do it, and I had been knocking doors for probably 8 years. And I started knocking doors, and I didn't know really what to say and how to react. But again, it just took some time and some brain conditioning, some discipline to actually get out there and do it every day. And I went through the times where like I thought I was going to lose my place to live. I thought I was going to lose my car, or my car broke down, or I thought I was going to be homeless, or I was just broke as fuck. And it got me to this point. So again, wherever you're at in your life, like if you put the work in, it'll work for you. But again, you have to just believe in yourself. Don't quit your day job if you first start. I mean, that's kind of something I would say. But again, if you worked with me, like I would make sure that you get a deal. You know what I mean? But again, I'm taking on one student right now that I'm working with directly. If I work with you over the state lines, you're just gonna have to put in the work. And again, don't quit your day job. Like, just get out there and work 2 hours a night if you have to. Turn off that TV. Sell the fucking TV. You know what I mean? And start working on personal development, which is what I'm doing right now. And I should have been doing a lot more of that this year, but I didn't. So again, I'm not going to make excuses. I'm just going to continue to move forward. And again, just make sure that you're in a good financial position when you do quit your job and do wholesaling full time, because you can. This is what I do full time, and I'm not going to do anything else. I'm never ever going to get a job ever again in my life. I would never work for anybody else. But you can do part-time wholesaling and make a little bit of money. But if you want to go full force with this, like my student is now, I'm working with him every day just to make sure that he's doing a deal. And again, he's already got a deal. So you can do this. And again, it's just there to help him out. Again, making money without money with Nate Ness through real estate. It's a simple process. It's just hard work every day, and it's more of a mental hard work than it is like a physical hard. It's not physical at all. It's totally mental. You just have to believe that you can do it and keep doing it. So you're going to get a ton of no's before you get to a yes. You might get 1,000 no's before you get to a yes. So just accept that fact and keep doing it. Don't quit your day job. But again, like if you put in the work, put in enough hours, you'll stumble across something. My mentor always told me that, and it's true. You will. So put in the time. Nate Ness Education. Have a wonderful Halloween.